Welcome to our fourth video segment discussing Pastor Greg Finke's book, Joining Jesus on His Mission, How to Be an Everyday Missionary. I would like you to take a look at the picture of the bridge on your screen. Notice anything? It looks like a perfectly good bridge situated beside a river. Who would build a bridge in the wrong place? This is the Choluteca Bridge in the country of Honduras. It was a state-of-the-art bridge built by a Japanese firm for the Honduran government. When built, it perfectly spanned the Choluteca River. However, in 1998, a tropical storm formed and gained strength in the western Caribbean Sea. Hurricane Mitch grew at one point to be a Category 5 hurricane. However, by the time it approached the Honduran coast, it had weakened to a Category 1 hurricane. Nonetheless, Mitch stalled over Honduras, dumping historic amounts of rain on the region. Reports of up to 75 inches of rain in some areas. Honduras is a mountainous region. When all that water came crashing down out of the mountains and into the river valley, it literally changed the course of the river. In a matter of days, a perfectly good, well-built, well-placed bridge became obsolete. And frankly, it looks kind of silly too. But here's the point. The real problem is not that someone built the wrong bridge in the wrong place. The problem is that the river moved. The United States has quickly become a major mission field. This is so stunning that many people have a hard time wrapping their heads around it. Many struggle to understand the scope of this new reality and the implications for their local congregations. The picture of the Choluteca Bridge serves as an accurate metaphor for what has happened to the American church. For years, we were able to build and operate churches as important centers of culture. There really wasn't any need for a congregation to strategize how to reach its community because all they had to do was schedule a midweek program and a worship service on Sunday, open the doors, and people would come. As Lutheran pastor Greg Finke points out, for a very long time, the U.S. church was well-built, well-positioned, and doing an excellent job of meeting the spiritual needs of a largely churched culture. We could say the church was spanning the river of the U.S. culture at that time. However, over the last 40 or so years, a cultural and religious hurricane has been churning over the U.S., leaving the landscape unrecognizable to Christians who came of age before the 1970s. The river moved. For the first time in U.S. history, congregations can no longer rely on a strategy of attracting people to religious services as the best and most effective means of introducing people to the gospel. Consider the following. Surveys reveal that over the last few decades, literally millions of people who previously were members of churches have walked away. Moreover, the number of Americans who claim no religious affiliation has hit an all-time high. And finally, less than 10% of adults under 30 regularly participate in the life of a local congregation. So how could this happen? How is it that a perfectly good, well-placed church like we had a couple of decades ago could so quickly become increasingly obsolete to the culture in general and to a growing segment of our children and grandchildren? The river moved. Our solution as the church is not to try and make the U.S. culture move back to where it was, but to focus on prayer, planning, and efforts on building the next span of bridge over where the culture is now. And where is it now? With each new generation of Americans, we are moving further beyond being even a post-church culture, those who were raised in church but no longer participate, to being a pre-churched culture, those who were not raised with church at all. Do you know what that makes us? Missionaries. because we are Jesus followers living in the American mission field. That makes us missionaries whether we realize it or not. We are used to thinking of missionaries as being sent to the mission fields of far-off places like Africa and China. But now we can send and be missionaries to the mission fields of our own subdivisions, neighborhoods, and apartment complexes. Jesus is calling us, all of us, to be neighborhood missionaries. The good news is that Jesus has uniquely ripened the culture for the church to once again go and be the church in our neighborhoods, workplaces, and schools. Every Sunday, Christians gather in worship around Jesus through His Word and sacraments. Then we are sent out to join Jesus as He carries out His redemptive mission in our community the rest of the week. This is the ancient rhythm of God's people, gathering and going. The dramatic shift in American culture can cause anxiety and uneasiness. We can grieve it, but we can no longer afford to ignore it. It's time for us to sit up and realize that we are a missional church in the mission field called the United States of America. The river has moved, but Jesus is ready. In our next video segment, we will examine how to position ourselves as local missionaries in our community. Until then, have fun being on mission with Jesus in your community.